right, good morning, everyone. You may be seated. This was, by the way, our Tacoma campus pastor. This campus. And Pastor Nicole was, last night you guys probably noticed it got a little warm. And we're not used to 90-degree days in this part of the country. So I heard about a little conversation that happened last night. Actually, it was between, I thought this was really fun. It was between her and her husband. Her husband is a businessman. And Eric, I don't know if Eric is here this morning. He's probably doing business. Okay, yeah, it's all good reasons, I know. But anyway, he looks over at her last night and he says, "Hey, campus pastor. It's a little warm in here. What are you going to do about it?" And she looked back at him and she said, "Hey, business leader, legacy team, when are you going to pay for it?" Adds a whole new definition of the kings and the priests and all that going on. Hey, by the way, I heard that this morning. We're just really getting into, I mean, we've been doing it, but we're really hopefully having more of our business leaders attending the conference from various churches. And I heard this morning they had a great time meeting together. And also tomorrow there's a super session for all of the marketplace leaders, all of the business leaders, all of the legacy team, we call it. You've got your own super session tomorrow as well. And so that's a good example of a dynamic team. When are we going to do this? When you pay for it. All right. Today we're going to talk about the DNA of a great team. You ready to go? No, really. Are you ready to go? We're going to have some fun today. Let's just start by declaring this, that as we talk about DNA, let's begin with our physical DNA. The less visible qualities are your DNA as far as your physical being. And those less visible qualities are what make up the visible qualities of who you are as a person. And so I'm going to just begin with that. Team DNA is the less visible qualities that make up the visible qualities of who you are as a team. So, in the same way that your DNA is created by your mom and dad, team DNA is created by the people on the team. And I want to define what we're talking about at Team Church when we talk about the team. We're not just talking about a paid staff. I want to be really clear about this. So, a lot of churches that are here only have one or two or very few actually paid staff. But whether you're paid staff or whether you get your salary somewhere else, the team that you're a part of gets its DNA from you. Are you with me? So what we carry in us as a team determines who we are and what we produce. When a church is growing and doing great things to reach and serve people, the tendency is for church leaders to rush to the location and go to that church and go to that conference in a search of the how-tos, like the how-tos of system. Like, how do they do this? What's their system? What's the structure? What's the style? And that's the tendency that we all start with. But over the next 36 hours or so, we're encouraging you to look beyond the programs and the methods and the technology, and we're encouraging you to look into the DNA of great teams. And ask yourself, what is it? Okay, they got great systems, we need it. They got great structure, we need it. But what makes a team unified is what you really want to know. Because you can have great structure, but a house divided against itself will not stand. What makes a team unoffendable? Able to talk straight, shoot straight, not worry about hurting one another's feelings. We got a game we got to play. We got something, a mission that we're on. We can't sit around and deliver everything in a nice, thought out way. What is it that makes teams unoffendable? What is it that causes teams to dig deep inside themselves when it's go time? Rather than sitting in the bleachers, they're there on the field. What is it? What is it? What is it? What is it? What is it that causes teams to be collaborative and to actually interact and engage and not all work in their own little world and mindset? You see, we sang some good songs in worship today. And you need great songs, no doubt about it. But having a good song to sing in worship doesn't compensate for a bad spirit on the team. Can we talk? And can I just recommend that you would rather have less talent on your platform with a great spirit than more talent with a bad spirit. Come on, Team Church. Come on, Team Church. Come on, Team Church. We got to get wise. We got to get strong. We got to understand some of these dynamics of how the delivery system works that we're calling the DNA. See, you can know what you want, but you can only produce from who you are. Sorry, you're not going to get two elephants together and get a giraffe. It's not going to happen. You can only deliver or produce from who you are. Jesus said it like this. He said, make the tree good, and its fruit will be good. Make the tree good. Make the tree good. Make the tree good. Work on the tree. Don't look at the bad fruit and go get a spray can and say, I'm going to make the apples golden today. Or assume that you can do something from the outside that makes the fruit better. You got to go inside. You got to go deep. Maybe some of you remember in 2004, the Olympic Games, the USA had like best team ever. People like LeBron, Dwayne Wade, Tim Duncan, Allen Iverson. Who wouldn't want that lineup? Coached by Larry Brown. And they lost to Argentina. No offense to Argentina, I'm just saying, that ain't supposed to happen. And Larry Brown, coach, actually took ownership, responsibility. When he talked about it, he said, I failed. We had the best team, obviously, maybe in history, but I failed to break through in ways that led these guys and caused these guys to come together as a team. The only way for the team to be better is for individuals on the team to get better. And I'm not just talking about in skill, but I'm talking about in teamwork, in the intangibles. And by the way, maybe you've been serving God a long time, but the fruit of the Spirit hasn't changed. It's still love. It's still joy. It's still peace. It's still long-suffering. Come on. It's still patience. It's still goodness. Can I get a witness from somebody today? The fruit of the Spirit hasn't changed. And I think a lot of times we just forget that. We get going, I've been doing church, doing this, and then we start looking for systems. But you can get the best system on the planet. But if you're not carrying in you the right kind of DNA, the best system on the planet will not help you build God's church. It's kind of like maybe you've watched or noticed a model or even a mannequin that has on certain clothes. And you're like, I like that outfit. I want that outfit. And then you go get it and you put it on. It don't look the same. Really? Yeah? Got some witnesses over here. I think I need a little bit more room in my shirt. Like, okay. Here's some of what we would talk about. Examples of DNA in a great team. The list goes on and on. I just wanted to throw out kind of samples. There's no way we can. We can get on all of them, but I'm trying to help you. We're wanting to really get folks moving in a way that you don't underestimate things like encouragement and things like levity I talked about last night. Things like passion. Things like generosity. Like our goal right now is to say, God, help us get back to understanding how to walk Christ-like in all of our relationships, and how to do what in all of your getting, what does Scripture say? Get what? Get wisdom. Yeah, learn the latest and the best systems that you can, but in all you're getting, get what? Get what? Get what? Get what? Get. Here's the one I want to talk about for a few minutes, trust. If you've been on a team where people don't trust each other, then you know how draining and you know how difficult it can be. And on the other hand, it's just the opposite when there's this high level of trust. And let me just say this. You might want to, well, how do we get trust going? Well, character is what makes trust possible. So on a team, it's not just moral character. When I say character, some people are like, immediately you go to the moral. Am I living right? I don't smoke, I don't chew, I don't learn what folks are doing. All that, like, yeah, I'm good. Like, we got our bodies cleaned up, our life cleaned up. I'm not just talking about that. When I'm talking about team DNA, or when I'm talking about character, rather, I'm not just talking about moral character. I'm talking about team character. It's the kind of character on a team that causes others to trust each other. And it causes others, when you carry it, it causes others to trust that you're on board, that you're sold out. I want to know that, and I need to know that as a team leader, is that my team is on board. They are sold out. They're not silent whenever I'm talking about, here's what we do, here's how we do it. They're not silent and staring at me. And then when I challenge them going, what? I didn't say nothing. Exactly. Silent can be deadly. Silent can be divisive. Silent can say a whole lot more sometimes than words say. So the way you build trust is that your character is not just something that, I heard last week a guy, you guys have heard this before, it's not new humor, but I heard about the guy again, somebody was laughing about her, saying the wife who's told her husband, like, you never tell me that you love me. And he said, well, I told you when I married you. And if that changes, I'll let you know. That's what I'm talking about. It's even in silence sometimes. Teams have to be sold out, eager to serve, speaking up, saying, I'm here for you. What do you need? I'm unoffendable. I'm big on the inside. Talk straight to me. I'm in it for the cause, not the applause. You don't need to always be clapping for me. This is the kind of stuff that develops trust. And last night we introduced our code. And by the way, I think we have a new website, and it's going to be up and available later on, maybe tomorrow. So people were asking last night, how do I get that team code? And it'll be available tomorrow. But we go together, not alone. And we're making this available just to kind of get you guys started if you want stuff like this in your hallways or in your offices. We are undivided. We stand shoulder to shoulder, focus fixed, remembering who our real enemy is. It's not one another. We battle not against flesh and blood. Come on, we battle. We are team church. The enemy wants to stop us, divide us, hold us back. We share the credit in victory and the responsibility in defeat. We are undivided. We let the best idea win. We don't walk out of the room because our idea they're not the one that won. We're convinced that there are better ideas in all of us than in one of us. Talking about team DNA. We abandon smallness. We fight to live big on the inside. We lose our lives in our shared vision. Generous spirits fuel our service. We are undeterred by offense. We go to the table of truth often, refusing to allow personal disagreement to become team division. We starts with me. We are committed to personal spiritual health. We will not effectively lead others until we diligently lead ourselves. We starts with me. We move church forward. We are bought with blood, baptized by fire. And we will stop at nothing to see our communities look like heaven. I promise you, when this kind of stuff gets going on a team, trust will grow. Doubt will be eliminated. You'll start trusting one another like skilled soldiers on a battlefield. I got your back, you got my back. We charge hell with a water pistol if necessary, but we go together. When the character, this is the kind of character that builds the trust. Are you with me? Shout amen. We go together, we are team church. Secondly, we're selfless. Selfless is another example of what strong team DNA looks like. Successful teams will always put the interest of the team above their own self-interest. I just want to let that marinate a little bit. There are people and a mindset, an idea, and the attitude that's very common today that believes they have to protect themselves from the church. And it's one of the greatest strategies of Satan. That people would use terms like boundaries to not volunteer generously. Our own staff years ago, and you got to deal with this, and you got to face it. I'm just telling all of you who are part of the team, because that is going to get its way in to the church. And then the deterioration in the strength of the church will go straight down. But I remember at one occasion years ago, we had some people on our team that were like, lots of that going on about, well, my family, I'm not going to let my family suffer. And we have to have family time. We have to have family nights. I need a date night. And I remember the first time I just stood up in front of the team, not on a weekend, but the team, people who volunteering and people who were declaring themselves to be on the team, and I said something to the effect of, let me ask everyone, how many nights a week do you need for you? For you and your family to be good. For you and your wife and your marriage to be good. How many do you need to totally unplug, get away, and not be dealing with anything having to do with the church? And what's going on right now is what happened in that room. Everybody got really quiet. I said, anybody want to start with 3 nights? We'll start with 3, because that means there's 4 left. I just think sometimes we forget what we're a part of. I think we forget we're bought with blood. I think we forget the church is God's idea. And I'm calling on church leaders this week, if you haven't been convinced of this, this is an area where you're going to have to get persuaded, or you're not going to be able to build God's church in your community. Because you don't go into building church being half in, sort of in, kind of in. You don't build a church unless you're all in. You got to be all in. And you can't let yourself assume for 1 minute that the church doesn't care about your marriage and doesn't care about your family. And you got to get rid of that lie and get it out of your system. The church and the leaders and the staff care about your marriage. And I'm speaking, I believe, on behalf of every pastor that's represented at this conference. We don't want your marriage to go down. We want it to go up. We want your family to be healthy and strong. But it's not either or, it's both. It's both. Don't create a dumb dichotomy. Family or church, both. And they go together. And what I have found after 35 years, 4 years, something like that, of pastoring, it's amazing I could pastor 34 years and only be 44. That's amazing, but started pretty young. I'm kidding. I'm 60, proud of it. Ow! Ow! So, what I was going to say, I forgot. It's amazing how many people that have been all in over the years whose family is healthy, strong, grounded in the church themselves, serving Jesus, loving Jesus. Somebody shout truth. Say it again, truth. And I can name, I know their names, and I wish I could forget the stories, because it breaks my heart of the families who protected themselves from being involved. They just show up on the weekend, and every time they were approached to volunteer, give, do something, help out, the guards went up. They got into protecting themselves, and I can tell you time after time the heartbreaking story of young people whose friendships were more aligned with their schoolmates, and their social life were more outside the church than in the church, and families who actually, couples who are divorced, lost their kids went sideways, not in the house of God today. And it all started out of a lie, an idea that serving in God's house would hurt them rather than help them. Man, I just wish, like in a moment like this, I wish I could go across the platform on a night like last night. Last night, I think tonight, we'll have mixing of lots of churches. Last night, I think there might have been one or two out of those 25 people that were not ChampionsCentre team. And we just did all that. And I looked at the platform, I'm like, man, that's so fun. I haven't seen our different campuses and worship teams and all together like this before. And it was fun for me, but if I could have come up here and just froze the frame and went from one to the other and tell you, this one actually grew up here in our church. Their mom and dad were committed and faithful. This one right here is now a pastor in our church. And they grew up here. Mom and dad were committed. This one right here, their mom and dad never missed. They were highly involved. Look where they are right now. They married in the church. They're serving in the church. They're giving in the church. It's real, guys. It's real. I can tell already I'm not going to get through my notes today. But I want to challenge you, however deep you are, you're here, your pastor invited you or brought you. I just want to tell you right now, this is the first line of offense. And I don't mean being offended. I'm talking about the Bible says that Jesus said, I am building my church and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. On the front lines, you're going to encounter people who don't get this. And I'm not asking you, don't get mean with them, but take a stand and dig your heels in against the philosophy that the church is the big bad wolf. And getting involved will hurt your family and hurt your future. Dig your heels in. Keep saying, come on. Get your kids here. We're serving together. We're giving together. We're doing together. We are selfless when it comes to the things of God. We are selfless. We are sold out. We are committed to God's house. Seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added. I done quit teaching, going to preaching. All right. Calm down. Uncommon commitment. Uncommon commitment. I guess we're talking about that. Leaped over into it with selfless. I heard the story of two brothers. They inherited their family farm. Their mom and dad had passed away, and the two brothers, and one of them's married and one of them's single. And they agreed to just split the profits and the produce and everything straight down the middle. And so that's what they were doing. One of them was married, one of them was single, so the one that was married had a big family. And one night, the single brother got to thinking, he's like, I don't need as much as my brother. He's married, he's got a family. And so he decided he'd have his own way of doing that. And he started leaving the house every night after dark, and he'd take 2 buckets out of his grain silo, and he would carry it over to his brother's grain silo. And he would put what was in his grain silo in his brother's grain silo. Meanwhile, his married brother starts thinking, I have a family. I have a wife. My brother's alone. He's lonely. And I just want to give my brother everything I can. And so he decided after dark every night he's going to go and get 2 buckets of grain out of his silo and carry it over to his brother's silo. And it went on for years until they bumped into one another one night. But the amazing thing is when they were doing that, they didn't lose any ground. They didn't lose any grain. And I want to remind everyone here, when you have uncommon commitment, we serve a God of open heaven. And when you give, it will be given back to you. Uncommon. Everybody say uncommon. Say it again, uncommon. uncommon. Exceptionalism. Let's make that another one on its own. Exceptionalism is one that I wanted to hit on today because I don't think that as I study teams and a lot of what I've already talked about today, there's a belief that great teams have that they are not meant to be normal, but they are called to be exceptional. So if you want to know, like, the intangibles, in my mind, one of the ones worth talking about today is that in the DNA of a great team is the belief that they are not meant to be a normal team with normal issues, with normal feelings, with normal strife, with normal pettiness. So you know what goes out, imagine with me, you know what goes out the window when you arrive at that point is that the comparisons I'm no different than anyone else. Everyone has feelings. Everybody who's on a team has that need. Like, we're no different than anybody else. And when you think that way, then you descend into normality. On great teams in the DNA is an exceptionalism. In the minds and the hearts of the team, that they are called to be people of exceptional grace, exceptional courage, exceptional faith, exceptional heart, exceptional vision, exceptional. We're not comparing ourselves to the world kind of thinking. We're not comparing ourselves to other churches where we used to go. But we see ourselves like Jesus saw us in advance, as being the light of the world, the salt of the earth. Am I helping anyone? Jesus, imagine staring out at guys who were fishermen and just had normal careers, and staring at them and walking down in front of them, kind of like Braveheart on a stallion. That's how I see it, like right now. Up and down in front of them and saying, you are the light of the world. You are the salt of the earth. He wasn't saying you're better than everybody else. He was calling us higher in our ideas about who we are, how we act, how we treat one another, what we say to one another, how we work together. Exceptionalism. Look at this verse, Daniel 6. Daniel distinguished himself among the administrators and the satraps by his exceptional, this is like community leaders, province leaders. By his what? By his exceptional qualities that the king planned to set him over. He was exceptional. He was exceptional. Last one I want to talk about is honor. I think it's the last one. We'll see. Honor. Honor. So when you talk about exceptionalism, you can bump right over into something that's very uncommon in our society. Pop culture today it has an overwhelming idea that we don't honor. I'm as good as you are. And they interpret that whole notion as being just something that is unnecessary. But not us. Not here. Not in God's house. Pop culture, you see, is filled with sarcasm and cynicism and complaining and blaming. Am I right about that? I mean, from one television network to the next, from one rap artist to the next, from one politician to the next. And even among Christians, unfortunately today, there's that popular dialogue and conversation that is laced with all those things: complaining, cynicism, blaming, speaking out. But when you're called not only to honor, but you're called to exceptionalism, you realize that even though it's the exception in this house, on this team, we still honor up. We honor down. And we honor all around. Come on, we honor when all is going well, and we honor when things are going sideways. We honor in the easy conversation, we still honor in the difficult conversation. Everything's better with honor. Preachers preach better with honor. You want your pastor to preach better? Just honor him. Like stand up and clap when he heads for the platform this weekend. Like, you might be the only one in the room, but start something, get something going. Like my preacher, I love my preacher. I love my man of God. I'm so thankful for my pastor. And it's not just honor up, honor down. Last couple of months, our team has been on the platform speaking. As a pastor, like I coach our church. Hey, when you come and I'm not speaking, that means you yell amen louder. That means you clap more. Like when some of our team is up here and our campus pastors, and like that's the time whenever you just lean into the support and the encouragement, because this is the future. We build each other up. We build each other up. You can stand or sit down, whatever you want to do. I'm almost done, but marriages are better with honor. Am I right about that? Business is better with honor. Am I right about that? Neighborhoods are better with honor. Am I right about that? Church is better with honor. So again, I think the first time I really spoke on honor, and the whole phrase honor up, down, all around came out of me, was probably 10 years ago. And I had it so much in my heart because I was just irritated by what's going on in our world. And I was saying, not in God's house, not with God's people. I'm watching it in our young millennials. I'm watching it in young people, and all they know is what they hear if we don't tell them different. They're not bad, they're not evil, but if the spirit of the world is all they're exposed to, then they don't learn any. So I just started my campaign, like I called it Bringing Honor Back. There you go, that's your series starting this Sunday, all you pastors. Bringing honor back. And I just went on this campaign of bringing honor. We're bringing honor back. And I talked about the irritation I have when I go to a baseball game or a national anthem is played. I'm that guy that stands up, and I just who I am. And I am standing there a lot of times thinking, man, come on, America is the greatest nation in the world. It's not perfect, but can we give a little bit of honor? Can we get a little bit of honor going? So I was headed somewhere with it. So I started, in my preaching out and all that, I started noticing it more. Maybe it was there all along, but I started noticing the pushback. And it kind of sounded like this. Yeah, the pastors, some pastors, somebody carries their briefcase or their backpack, and, that's just silly. Somebody, they can carry their own backpack. And I was noticing, I was thinking about that. And I just started observing more about those churches. I'm okay if you have a convincing argument. Like the other day, I'm on another side trail here now already, but the other day in our office, I was getting on to some of my team, and I was saying to my team, like, you did not put the right version of the verse up. Like, I gave you the version I wanted. Don't make your own version. Like, don't change NIV to King James Version. And I'm just kind of doing that, like with 4 of them, and they're looking at me, and they're like staring at me, and then I went to my notes. In that same moment, I was going to show them that they were wrong. I went to my notes, and I was wrong. And I said, I am sorry. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. So I'm not afraid to tell you if the results were different, but I dare you. Go to a church with that snappy little worrying about serving each other. See, a lot of times we'll serve the down and out, but we won't serve the up and coming. No, really, there's a lot of people that'll wander around on the streets and they'll carry something for somebody, they'll help somebody in need, but they're gonna bow their back and hold their head up and say, "Nah, we don't do that at church." What? Come on. Honor up. Honor down. I'm okay for you to honor down, but don't just honor down. Honor up too. And your church will be different. And your church will be better. And your church will have a freedom and a liberty. Come on. And an attitude of generosity. If you're not keeping score, if you're not worried about doing something out of your way or uncommon to help somebody, serve somebody, do your best to bless somebody. It's when you start keeping score that you lose some of the most important DNA of a team. And that DNA is honor. Let's be everything God's called us to be. Let's not try to be like the world. Let's not try to imitate the ways of the world. Let's realize we're exceptional. I had a young man in our church recently, the first in 3 generations to actually graduate high school. And I cheered for him. I patted him on the back. You know why? You know why? Because I've heard so many say, well, if you knew where I came from, you would know that my dad didn't, and my uncle didn't, and my grandfather didn't, and then that's the reason for sameness. But he said, you know what? My dad didn't, and my grandpa didn't, but I'm the exception. It starts right here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do something with my life. I'm going to get through it. All right, Team Church, I love you today. God bless you. I am off my time. No, I'm not. I'm finishing strong, on time. The clock says 1 minute, 25 seconds. Maybe I'll just use it up right now. No, I'm kidding. God bless you guys. I love you.